Here we go. Welcome, old family and new family, to Cypher Scholars. Part education, part hip-hop, all culture. You're listening to your boy Brandon White, a.k.a. Bushido Garvey, as I'm known in many MC circles.
And your co-host of the co-host, Rob Blow.
Yes. Again, this is Cypher Scholars, for those who don't know. Part education, part hip-hop, all culture that's always local, global, and universal. We have a packed up syllabus, don't we, today, Brother Rob?
Yes, we do.
Man, we're going to be talking a bit about the whole Democratic nominees debates about busing and desegregation, because Joe Biden has been in some hot water because of that. We're going to talk a bit about the border crisis, you know what I'm saying, because the emergency border bill got passed not too long ago. We're going to talk about that and just the overall crisis on the border. And then we're going to dive into Nas's first children's book called I Know I Can, the first of many in the series. But yeah, we're going to get into that when it's time. So let's go ahead and hop into this age-old debate about school segregation / desegregation.
Okay.
So your ethnic sister Kamala Harris, because you know she Jamaican.
I ain't know that.
Yeah, she Jamaican. Yep. Your sister Kamala Harris kind of put Joe Biden on blast, talking about his record with not supporting busing for schools when she was one of the kids in California at the time that was a beneficiary of that program, and kind of called him out, saying, I was that girl that you didn't really support in terms of busing. And for those who don't know, busing is the whole concept of trying to break down school segregation by putting kids of color on a bus into white school districts. And that's probably an oversimplification of it, but just for general purposes, we'll roll with that.
Is it like an urban suburban?
Almost like that, yeah, exactly.
The precursor to urban suburban.
It was urban suburban, but a little more state muscle was put behind it, and it was less at the discretion of the district where the kids were being bused into, and it was more at the discretion of the state. Right now, like, schools kind of choose if they want to be urban suburban, and in the Monroe County area and other areas, I'm sure there are other urban suburban programs, but yeah, basically like urban suburban, right? But like nationally, this was a big push, right? Because they had just desegregated schools or declared it illegal, but the schools were still segregated. So there was like, well, how are we going to make sure that they get desegregated?
Yeah.
Let's, put these kids on buses and put them in the white schools, but they never put the white kids on buses
to go to black schools.
To go to black schools, of course, right?
Okay.
So back in the day, this was a real controversial.
What year was this, though?
This was the 70s, and in particular, Joe Biden. So, because Joe Biden's been around for some time, y'all, and Joe Biden. This is what Joe Biden had to say, because I wanted to get the clear facts, because the Democratic nominee debates, it's a lot of political theater, so I don't know what's fact, what's fiction, or what's in between. So I wanted to figure out what Joe Biden was really talking about back then.
Okay.
I guess in 1975, he said in an interview that busing is an asinine concept, the utility of which has never been proven to me. So he very clearly was not a big fan of busing. He also, I guess, spoke very kindly of some segregationist congressmen in terms of being like, well, he never called me boy, he called me son, and relatively small kind of comments about these segregationists, but there's still comments picking up segregationists, which is a problem. But black people still love this guy. What is it about black folk loving older white dudes who seem to have like a swag or a connection with black people, even if they have racialized histories? Like in politics, I'm thinking of Bill Clinton. We loved Bill Clinton, despite the crime bill,
1994 crime bill.
That Joe Biden also backed, right?
Okay.
What I'm saying? We loved the Kennedys. There were times that the Kennedys did do what they had to do for civil rights. There were times that they didn't, right? And there were times that they were forced to. And then we have who was Uncle Joe, right? But it turns out Uncle Joe has a bit of a history. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think it's just we are very forgetful. We don't understand the history of the politics or the people that's a part of those people that are in Congress. We don't understand their history overall, and I just think that we're forgetful. We're so caught up in normalcy. You know what I mean? We're just careless and forgetful. You know what I mean? So I don't think people are going back in time and looking at articles and stuff like that, and like about Bill Clinton or Joe Biden and see what they were really standing for way back then. Like even with President Trump, you know what I mean? A lot of things come to light as soon as he became president. But how many people were looking into that before him going for the presidency? You know what I mean? So I think a lot of people just caught up in being forgetful and careless.
Indeed, man. I can't agree more. And I think that, and to give even more just context, like Joe Biden, what he said was he was okay with or for state choice about busing, but didn't want to use federal funds or federal muscle from the United States Department of Education to enforce busing.
See, but that's the thing. The Department of Education did not even exist until 1979. So you saying this is yes? It didn't start its existence until 1979. I don't even think it was even in existence in 1979. It had to go through a little process, like.
Yep, and that's what I'm saying. Like the theater is real because he said this is 75.
Yeah, this is 75, right? But the Department of Education didn't come about until 1979. So you guys, so this is a gray line. This is a very gray line right here. You know what I mean? With this busing situation and when it comes to education.
That's so wild. See, again,
so that throws a real big monkey wrench in the situation right
Indeed,
there.
Man. Why you always lying? I mean,
so you can't even fault. You can't even like. I mean, what were they saying about the Department of Education?
Well, he had said that in the debate. He said that he wasn't active against busing. He was active against using the state department, the United States Department of Education to enforce busing.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But like his statements about busing and his track record about busing predates the existence of the United States Department of Education.
Yeah.
Maybe when he said that, he was just meaning like, that he just was against federal money or federal institutions to enforce it. But even then, like that's the whole history with racism, like running to states' rights to keep racist policies and practices alive. So if something racist is going on, you need the federal government to do something because the states be tripping sometimes.
Let me ask you, what is Joe Biden's stance on? Like, does he have an education policy that he wants to enforce or talk about?
So he talked about expanding Title I money. Okay. Again, so for those who don't know, Title I is just like the bag of all bags for education, people in education, in terms of federal money. So he wanted to expand more Title I funds.
Okay.
Ideally, and I have to make sure I check my facts on this, ideally to raise teacher pay. Okay. But I want to make sure I know what I'm talking about with that.
Okay. What about Kamala Harris? What's she trying to do?
Again,
what's her education policy?
Going back to the theater, right? I was right. Biden wants to increase pay for teachers using trying to triple Title I funds, right? And again, Title I is the bag of all bags in education. But what's it called in terms of Kamala Harris? So the theater was going on, right, where she, called out Joe Biden, and rightfully so. And like almost right after that debate, like her team had like a picture of her being a kid, getting ready to be, on the bus or whatever, and they posted it on IG like almost right after. You know what I'm saying? Our team is sharp. They was like, oh, we got to get this on IG. Capture the moment. You know what I'm saying? But
oh man.
So and I mean that's part of the game, right? But so another thing that was kind of like had question marks around it for me was, so she was talking, she was kind of shaming Joe Biden, and again rightfully so. But then she started talking about that's why we need the Strength and Diversity Act, and talking about this act, right? Which is an act that is encouraging, like giving grants to school districts and states
Diversity
that
Act,
are trying to they're trying to make their school districts more socioeconomically diverse.
Okay.
And if they want to use transportation to do so, i.e. busing or whatever, kind of like urban whatever.
Yeah.
They can. So it's an incentivizing grant, right? But she didn't really have a strong record of supporting this prior to this day.
Okay.
Right? She was not a co-signer of it. You know what I'm saying? She was not a introducer of it. The introducers were Chris Murphy and Marcia Fudge. Salute to them. And the original co-sponsor of it was who? Bernie Sanders. Right, but like her team recently
connected
said,
to like Bernie Sanders talking about the erasing of the student loans and all that stuff like that. That comes with the package of his education policy or something like that.
So I mean, like he has a real aggressive education policy, right? Like forgiving, a radical amount of student debt. We talked about that last episode, right? By taxing Wall Street. You know what I'm saying? He's talking about the strength and diversity, or co-signing the strength and diversity. He's talking about capping charter schools.
Okay, yeah.
Right? So he has a very aggressive education agenda. And not to say that others don't, but I guess I had questions about Kamala Harris's stance where, because like her thing, like again, like she did not show any kind of serious support behind this Strength and Diversity Act prior to this upflare of the Democratic nominee debates.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
that's where everything came to light, where she,
It says, according to this article through Education Week, the bill has 3 co-sponsors. Harris is not one of them. Ooh. However, her office said Friday that Harris supports the bill. So, like...
I mean, so we talked about Joe Biden, his policy, I guess, or stance on education. Bernie's stance on education. Kamala's wavering stance on education. What about Elizabeth? Is it Elizabeth Warren?
I'll keep it real. I'm not sure where her stances are at. You know what I'm saying? I just know that we talked about last week that Elizabeth Warren also has a pretty aggressive student loan policy. But in terms of like the busing,
$50,000 erasing of $50,000 in student loans.
Exactly. So, like I really hope that at the end of the day, I just hope anybody follows through.
Yeah.
And I hope anybody follows through. Biden's talking about reinstating. He's talking about reinstating the Obama guidelines and policies that Trump erased.
Okay. Yep.
As was Bernie.
Yep.
And I think a couple of candidates were talking about reinstating and protecting DACA folks. You know what I'm saying? Protecting their parents and protecting there's a lot of teachers that are under DACA. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So, I just hope there's follow through. That's at the end of the day. I know it's a lot of theater, but I hope that there's follow through with it. You feel me? So, peace to Ms. Garlock, always supporting. Peace to DJ Chris G. Another radio legend from the town. So let's go ahead and dive a bit into this border. Okay. They call it the border crisis, but I don't like buying into that kind of language. The challenges at the border.
All right, so
let's get into this, man, because recently they just passed the emergency border bill, right?
Yeah. So it's like an emergency border bill, like with the funds. They have funds for the border, right? Where this bill will cover humanitarian aid. It will also. There's no allocating of they won't allocate funds for migrant detention beds.
You said they will, or
they won't? They won't. So they're not allocating funds for detention beds. Okay. So I think that's a bad thing. Detention beds. Yeah. I'm not really sure exactly what they are, but it doesn't sound good.
They laid out. I mean, right now, based on my understanding. First of all,
because the conditions is not. First of all, the conditions is not good for those
terrible.
in the southern border wall where the migrants are being detained in those facilities, etc. So when I hear detention beds, you know what I mean. I don't know what they are legally, but that layman terms. Go ahead, my fault.
No, you good, because that reminds me of what Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib, and AOC were talking about, like. it seemed like there's just things in this bill that they were just like, nah, like we're not riding with this. So they decided not to vote yes on it. But like I thought the detention beds, which are still bad because of detention beds, was a thing where like they're providing beds because right now they all sprawled out on the ground.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Which is all of it is terrible and nobody should be in the cage.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But even the fact that they were like that petty, where it's like, you know what, you can't use this money for beds.
I mean, okay, so the bill is saying that they're not allocating funds for new beds or new detention beds, but the bill itself is also saying that they're trying to better the conditions of those migrants. Okay. Under the care of the Customs and Immigration, Border Protection, whatever.
Yeah, did they say specifically how? Because
under protection of customs, but how? I'm not sure, but
every time I would look it up, it was kind of like relatively vague. Like, you know, include provisions including new health and safety standards, right? Like, But what does that mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, man, what does that mean?
The things that I have read were very vague too. But so not only are they, but this is what's included in the bill. So they're trying to receive. They're trying to make sure people receive humanitarian aid. Okay. No new funds for the detention beds. Prohibition on using funds for a border wall or immigration enforcement. This is a part of the bill too. Okay. So they will not hype up immigration enforcement. They won't increase the immigration enforcement or anything of the like, and they will not use funds for a border wall, for a new border wall itself.
So $4.5 billion is a lot of money.
Yeah, I got 4.6, kind of crazy.
4.6, yeah. So over $4.5 billion. What do you? If there's a vague notion of new health and safety standards, you don't need $4.5 billion for new health and safety standards.
I don't know.
And you're talking about some that won't be spent on. He's like, I just gave the information. I don't know, but like, and you're saying that you can't spend it on expanding ICE or the border wall. So what you gonna spend it on?
I mean, $30 million is going to grants for nonprofit organization that cares for migrants.
Okay.
So organizations outside of the borders and stuff like that care for migrants, money will go directly to them as well. So that's a part of the bill too. That's a part of the bill. $30 million.
That's not even a penny in the bag. That's crazy.
It's something though.
Half of that money should be going to nonprofits.
I don't know, man. I mean, I think it's a lot more connected to what I have right here. This is only the article I read talked about the divide between Pelosi and Schumer when this bill was passed because so it seems like there's a beef in Congress itself, right? So you have the majority leader versus the minority leader. Right. The majority leader is Mitch McConnell, and the minority leader is Schumer, right? Yeah. Majority leader is connected to Trump. He's on Trump's side. You know what I mean? Trump. He's on Trump's side. Schumer is on Pelosi's side. Right. You know what I mean? Pelosi is the House Speaker. Right. Schumer is the Senate minority leader. So there was a divide between on one side of the team with Pelosi and Schumer because Pelosi wanted Schumer to have his people withhold votes so that it would be an extended decision on this border bill. Basically, they were trying to make the border bill more liberal instead of conservative because the bill that passed is more on the conservative side.
Old girls.
Thanks to the Hispanic caucus and Congress, Hispanic caucus and the progressive Democrats, I believe. Thanks to those groups of people and probably other groups as well in Congress, this came out as a bill that probably is more acceptable among the majority.
Okay.
Feel me?
There's a minority that was like, we won't have no parts of it, right? Like I'm gonna start calling these sisters the super friends, because they my political heroes right now. The AOCs, the Ilhan Omars, the Ayanna Presleys, the Rashida Tlaibs, like they were like no. And at first I was like, all right, I know like politics is like give and take, it's compromise, it's chess, right? But they were like nah, and I was like, I was wondering why they were like nah, and I guess the sisters was like, we won't entertain any bill that doesn't deal with like abolishing ICE. Like, we want ICE gone. You know what I'm saying? We don't want anything that will either provide a loophole for ICE to expand or stay alive.
See, and that's what this bill said, that they're not gonna have funds included. They don't want funds going to immigration enforcements at all. So
they don't.
So thanks to Ilhan Omar and those other.
Well, no. They voted no.
They voted no
against the bill. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, their words were, we should not be given $1 more to support this president's deportation force. Because at the end of the day, this is making the deportation force more manageable. It's not getting rid of it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? All it's right. Like, oh, okay, we'll be more humane to them in the cages.
Okay.
We'll make sure, and I think they actually started moving some children out of the detention centers because they were getting, to different detention centers because they were like getting grossly mistreated. You know what I'm saying?
So I want to know what the conversation was with the Hispanic caucus versus the progressive Democrats. You know what I mean? Because I know they had to talk about all of this here. And the Hispanic caucus was down. Like, you know, they're more connected to...
Yeah, more connected to the cause.
Yeah, I mean, the cause. Yeah, I mean, culturally, maybe.
Yeah, I personally think that they were trying to make... They were doing politics. They was like, you know what? Like, we give some.
Yeah.
We give some. We take some. This is quote unquote better. I'd imagine this is what I have no idea, but I'd imagine it would be like, you know what, this is a little better. There's more aid. There's at least provisions for new health and safety standards, right, for jail migrants. At least there's some things that can happen with kids. At least there's $30 million for nonprofits to do their job. You know what I'm saying? I think the world is just populated with people who are like, you know what, at least I'm able to, right? And they might compromise some things, but they have some benefit. And then there's some people who's like, I won't stand for none of it. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know, I can't judge either. But I think that these four are like, I won't stand for none of it because, fine, you got $50 million for a nonprofit.
Yeah, only four people, only four Democrats only voted no, right? Only four Democrats, that was it?
That's what I'm saying.
Yo, but,
it was these systems.
Okay, I'm getting this now. All right, so from my understanding, from what I got, man, a lot of Democrats did not even vote, though, like, because of the divide between Pelosi and Schumer. Schumer wanted, there was some people that didn't even vote at all. And there was four people that said no. There's some Democrats that did not even vote at all, and you had some people that probably said on the Democratic side. So like when the thing passed, it was already.
It was a done deal.
It was a done deal. Like it got a little bit of holes in it. This bill got a little bit of holes in it in terms of people trying to make sure it's a good bill to pass. Right. Etc.
Yeah, it's a sticky situation. You know what I'm saying? I mean, excuse me. Let me rewind. Immigration is a sticky situation, but detention is not a sticky situation. Human rights violations is not a sticky situation. So like they're trying to figure out how to deal with this really stubborn government, right? But at the same time, get what they some things that they want, but old girls are like, you know what, like we want ICE gone. Omar was like, this is what she said. She said we should not be given $1 more to support this president's deportation force that openly commits human rights abuses and refuses to be held accountable to the American people. Kids and families can't continue to die and be terrorized, and that's what's happening. They're dying and they're getting terrorized. So
they are.
You know what I'm saying? I don't the way that this bill is described. I don't see how the terrorism and the death will stop totally.
And another thing that you got to keep in mind is that this bill was kind of rushed too. I feel like this bill was rushed because of the mishandling of the people, of the migrants or immigrants in those areas, and also the political debauchery, political debauchery, and all that. You know what I mean? So
indeed.
So well, it's kind of crazy, man.
Looking at the Gucci, it's about that time.
We looking at, you want to pick up the peoples out there? I don't know if anybody.
Yep, Miss Garlock is still on lock. Mr. Christopher Green is still on lock. Appreciate you, bro. So one of my, I remember when I first heard this song. My homie at Wilson had a bootleg version of Godson.
Okay.
Before it dropped. This is when you were able to get the bootlegs on CDs real quick, and then just have the albums early, right? So He was like, yo, you gotta listen to this track, whatever it was on the Godson. And I heard it and was just like, yo, Nas just murked it. Because we was all worried, like, after Stillmatic, is he gonna continue to, like, you know, drop heat after Stillmatic? You know what I'm saying? And I thought he did what God said in that song, I Know I Can. So the legendary song, I Know I Can, which I have used in many lesson plan and is a Freedom School mainstay, you know what I'm saying?
For years.
You know, something inside so strong. I know I can. I ain't
gonna lie, I was kind of getting tired of that whole list, right?
Come on, man. Like that was it. That was the move, man. But I Know I Can, or song I Can by Nas is now a children's book, or it's becoming a children's book, pardon me.
Yes.
Dropped by Nas's company Mass Appeal. Man, don't sleep on Nas's business acumen, B. So like we talked about that.
Nas is not only an artist, right? He's not only an investor.
Yep, capital venturist. Yep.
He's not only a I don't know what else to say. He's not only these things, but he's now an author of a book called I Know I Can.
Yep, and it's the first of a couple in the series, you know.
So he's dropping a series of books.
Yep.
Ooh, okay.
Yep.
And it's all geared towards elementary school students.
Yep, it's all geared toward kids. Yep. And through the company, I think it's called Mass JR, Mass Appeal Junior or something like Major Moves Junior. You know what? I'm messing up right now. Oh, I got the info right here. Let me come right in exact.
But Nas.
Major. My bad. Yep. Mass Appeal's new major, Mass Appeal Junior. Children's line, which aims to inspire future generations through the creation of unique toys, apparel, and innovative learning tools.
Okay.
My guy, son. Like, cause he also invested in some 21st century kind of advanced learning apps and stuff like that. Through his Queenbridge venture partners. You know what I'm saying?
I remember seeing something like that.
We talked about that in the show not too long ago. So, oh boy, he's just making moves, man.
Yeah, you definitely gotta respect Nas and commend him for what he's doing for definitely for the children as well. You know what I mean? For the children, for sure. He's expanding his business affairs for these kids and stuff like that, and I think that is a great thing to do. You know what I mean? I think it's years too late, man, because I remember like hearing all these songs with baby voices, with baby kids' voices in them.
Right.
We good on time? We good? I feel like it's years too late, but I feel this is perfect time right here, man.
I mean, I think it got the time to become a classic. You know what I'm saying? That can have a song, a book behind it. You know what I'm saying? And, I don't know. I wonder if it's a children's book, are they gonna have like the lines about like?
Yeah, I was thinking like, are they gonna have the bar?
You know what I'm saying? Like
they have the bars in there just to respond.
That looks ugly and old, you know, like, and all that. And she smells of coronas and death, or whatever, corrosion and death. Like, I wonder if he's gonna have like a pre-K or kindergarten kind of version of it.
Did you read anything about how the book is going to be set up at all or anything like that? No?
What you mean?
Like the setup, like you just talked about what you think is going to be inside the book. Did you read anything about?
No, I just know that the illustrator is this guy named Michael Lukowski.
All right, Michael Lukowski is the illustrator.
And the cover is dope. Cover is dope.
All right, cool.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, like, salutes to Nas again. He does what is it called? Is it called social entrepreneurship? Like the entrepreneurship you do where it's kind of like socially responsible. Like it's almost like you're being an activist, but also being a tenacious entrepreneur. Forget what it's called. We used to call it something. We used to use that term all the time at Freedom School. What was it called?
Social action?
Entrepreneur.
Okay.
No, it's not.
Nah, I don't know that.
I think it is social entrepreneurship.
Social entrepreneurship. I mean, that makes more sense.
Exactly. Social entrepreneurship is an approach by startup companies and entrepreneurs in which they develop, fund, and implement solutions to social, cultural, and/or environmental issues.
Okay.
So, you know, salutes to him doing that. You know what I'm saying? Always having integrity. Appreciate you, bro.
Oh, we got on time or?
We got like 10 seconds.
All right, cool. We got done with that. I was gonna say, like, is he releasing it by next year? Did it already get released? Or
No,
like
it's to be released.
Okay. Right.
I didn't see a release date has not been announced.
Okay. All right. So it's coming down to DreamWorks for y'all.
Indeed, Freedom School. Y'all got the curriculum that needs to be a part of the integrated reading curriculum when it drops. Don't sleep. Support that man's business. Support that song. Y'all done been using it. You know what I'm saying? and the cheers and chants for over a decade. Let that man get his dues. It's perfect for the curriculum. You know what I'm saying? So y'all been listening to Cypher Scholars. Yes. Part education, part hip hop, all culture. We appreciate all of our listeners on Facebook Live. You can catch us every Tuesday from 1:30 to 2 on 104.3 WAO FM. You can catch us online as well and on Facebook. Peace and progress.